I just returned from my trip to North Carolina, riding in DuPont State Forest, and I figured it warrants a little vlog to kind of update you on the trip. So the trip was a great trip. First of all, the house that we stayed in was really cool. It was a VRBO house. Actually, the first time I've used VRBO, and I liked it. It was a 3-bedroom house. We had 4 guys with us, and one of the rooms had a double, or 2 beds. So it worked out well. The house was located on top of a mountain and had a super steep road climb to get up to it. So it was nice starting off the ride going downhill, but it was a beast to get back up when you were done with your ride. Quite a steep hill, like 3 miles an hour to get up to the house. And it was actually located closer to the DuPont State Forest, well, one of the trailheads. If you're familiar with DuPont State Forest, we were about a 9-minute bike ride from the Fawn Lake trailhead. It's kind of the southernmost trailhead of DuPont. And so we had planned to ride Davidson River area 2 days and DuPont 2 days. The Davidson River area has the fish hatchery trails, what I call them, and then the ones kind of more by the campground. But the house was so conveniently located to the trailhead, so we just decided to stay in DuPont all 4 days. And we had to get out early because it rained. Now, overall, we had really good weather because it didn't start raining till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So if we got up and got going about 9 o'clock, we had about 4 or 5 hours to be out on the trail. It was a pretty casual ride pace. I mean, we would, hammer up climbs and blast down the descents and then just stop at a waterfall and take pictures, or stop at a lake. We even well, I didn't swim, but some of the other guys went swimming in the lake. So it was pretty laid back. Not like a training ride trip. It was just to have fun. We had a little bit varying skill levels. Everybody's a pretty strong rider. But it was, like I said, good weather for the trip. House was great. The riding in DuPont is awesome. There's a lot of variety. So on the, I guess would be the eastern side, the trails are more smooth. You've got some buff trails like Ridgeline, which is a super fun descent. It's got jumps and berms and a really smooth trail. So it's not technical, it's just a lot of fun. And it took me about 4 minutes, a little less than 4 minutes to get down that trail. Just give you an idea of how long it is. You've got other trails that are really nice on the eastern side. Reasonover Creek is a blast. The last day we were there, we found a trail off of Reasonover called Turkey Knob, and they've actually extended that recently. DuPont State Forest got some kind of grant that they were able to extend some of the trails, and I think that's one of them. That was a smooth, fun trail, not steep hardly at all. I could have ridden it on my cyclocross bike, but it was a lot of fun. And then on the western side, you've got the Cornmill Shoals trailhead, and those trails are a little bit more technical. So Burnt Mountain, Cedar Rock, Big Rock, those are a little bit more rocky and technical. So a really good variety. And of course you've got the waterfalls. I mean, DuPont is gorgeous. There are a few movies that were filmed there. Last of the Mohicans was filmed in there. The Hunger Games was filmed in there. Just to give you an idea of how awesome the scenery is there. It's just a phenomenal place to ride. About 7-hour drive from my house, so one of my favorite places to go. It does have a few river crossings, and one of them, if you watch my recent video of my road trip to DuPont, one of the river crossings it's kind of funny because you can't ride across it. At least I've never seen anybody do it successfully. It looks like you could, but the bottom is super slick. I mean, when we got across, one of my buddies was just going to kind of wash his foot off before he put his shoes back on and his socks back on, and he just stepped on the creek and slid out and started to go down the waterfall, or go down the creek a little bit, and one of the guys downstream had to grab his shoe that was floating down the river. So that's kind of a funny creek crossing. So if you ever go with someone and you want to like completely play a practical joke on them, just tell them to try to ride across it, but make sure you got your camera going because you can get some pretty funny footage there. I was going to try to meet up with Seth Alex and Brian are there riding with him. He was really busy with riding with them and editing some video. They filmed a video on Heartbreak Ridge. Would have loved to have hooked up with them, and I actually would have loved to ride Heartbreak Ridge. I've ridden it a couple times on a cross-country bike. That's in the off-road assault on Mount Mitchell, and I've only done it on a cross-country bike. Would have loved to have done it on my trail bike with Seth, but just didn't work out. Maybe next time. For those of you who don't know, most of you probably watch his channel, but he moved up there, so maybe that's foreshadowing for Florida YouTubers. I love it up there. Love it in the Asheville and Brevard area. Brevard's a cool little town to hang out in. I like the vibe in Brevard actually better than Asheville. Just a little bit more laid back. And there's white squirrels. Probably don't know what I'm talking about, but there's the white squirrel theme around Brevard, and we drove by the college and saw a white squirrel. So if you ever go there, go over to the college, look for a white squirrel. So the trip, like I said, was a great trip. It was not without technical issues. Some trips you go on like this are completely smooth. Actually, sometimes. A lot of times you have issues, so ours was not without issue. The first probably 45 minutes of our first ride, one of our guys endoed onto a rock, scraped up his face, his arm. He was okay though, kept riding. It didn't hinder him from riding. He thought his bike was okay, but started to have shifting problems. Threw the chain into the spoke, broke a spoke, and it turned out he had bent his derailleur hanger when he crashed, so had to go get that fixed. And then on the second day, I got a flat. And by the way, I am running the 2.6s on the Trance for this trip, like I said I would, and I loved them. Love those tires. Will not take them off, I don't think. Really good tire set for the Trance for this kind of terrain, because like I said, it's pretty varied. Could have ridden my cross-country bike on a lot of these trails, but the ones that got chunky and technical, I was so glad I was on my Trance. But I got a flat, and for some reason the stands didn't seal it right away, so I had to pump it up, and when I was pumping it up, I guess the valve stem had come loose and I didn't know it, and the air just wasn't holding, and the tire didn't know why, and then I realized the valve stem was holding. Got it all aired up and unthreaded my pump and pulled the valve core out, and I'm done with the style of pumps that just thread onto your pressed valve, because I've seen it happen so many times. You unthread those and it pulls the valve core out if they're not in there tight enough, and so it took me like 30 minutes to get this tire aired up. Finally got the stands to seal that day, and then on the last day, I don't know if I hit a thorn or something else, but it started leaking again. I would get the stands to seal it, and then it would be okay, then it would leak, and then I'd get the stands sealed. So I don't know, I'm either going to switch to orange seal, or I'm going to try the new stands formula. Evidently there's a new race formula that I haven't tried yet, so man, it was a little hole. That's what stands supposed to do, little holes. So anyway, and then the seat post on the Trance has worked completely flawlessly in Florida, where I don't need it. And then I get up there and I start having issues with the dropper seat post on the Trance. I thought it was the pressure inside the seat post. It turns out it's the cable, those Jaguar cables. And I mentioned this in my Trance review that I'll post after this vlog. But the cable just was having friction, and I have to, like, after I had to press the button, I'd have to just wait probably like 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds before I put my butt on the saddle to keep it from going back down. So you know, that was somewhat frustrating. And then to top it all off, I broke my phone. So I went up on a rock, and I didn't know what it was like on the other side, so I clipped out to kind of see, and I clipped out the right foot. I should have clipped out the left because the right dropped off. And then I kind of just rolled off the rock, which is really no big deal. And I had my elbow pads on and my knee pads on, Camelback, so I was absolutely unscathed. And then the next morning I was looking at my photos and realized there was kind of a haze over the photos, and I looked at the back of the camera, or the back of the phone, and the whole back was cracked. So it's a Google Pixel, which is a really good phone, but it has the upper part is glass on the back. I guess it helps with the Wi-Fi and phone signal, but I don't think it's a great design because it's shattered, and it's $150 to get fixed. In fact, it's at the repair place right now getting fixed. Fortunately, nothing happened to the screen or the phone except for the camera. I just couldn't take good pictures anymore. So yeah, you know, that's mountain biking. I mean, if you want to be safe and not have anything happen, I guess you just sit on your couch and watch Fixer Upper. I'll take the adventure side of life and head out in the woods on a mountain bike, risking things happening. So like I said, it was a good 4 days of riding. First time riding the Trance in the mountains, and so that's, you know, I did a long-term review on the Trance. Like I said, I'm getting ready to post that. Love the Trance in the mountains. The bike is not perfect, but it's about as close to perfect as any trail bike that I've ridden. So watch the review. Also watch an update on the 2.6 tires that I'm going to post. So that'll do it for this little update vlog of my trip to DuPont State Forest. Hope to get back up there soon, because again, one of my favorite places to ride. If you have not ridden DuPont, ride there, and if you have time, go over to the Davidson River area. Awesome trails over there too that unfortunately I didn't get to ride this trip, but hopefully I'll do it next time. Thanks for watching.